Hey friends, happy Sunday. I thought today I would bring you a story from my favorite story chair. All right, so curl up, get ready, get that pillow and blanket out, cuddle up and get ready for a good story. Now, I'm gonna read it to you from the Child's Story Bible. You know I love this one by Catherine Voss, but I wanted to tell you something about the story. So it's a long one and we're gonna only read part of it today and then part of it over the next couple of weeks. But I want you to be thinking about this story and really all the stories you read in the Bible, because sometimes some things happen that aren't good. Sometimes some things happen that are a little rough, to be honest with you. But what you have to know is watch how God is working. Watch what God is setting up, right? Remember last week when we talked about God's family and how he has a plan all the way through the Bible, and especially in these stories in Genesis, there's such an awesome plan for everyone. So watch what happens with Joseph here. All right, here we go. Jacob, so remember Jacob was a dad, he had how many sons? 12, right? All right, he now lived in the land of Canaan where his father lived, so he was able to go back to Canaan. Remember after those problems with Jacob and Esau? Yeah, so he made it back to Canaan, so good. And when Joseph was still a young boy, 17 years old, that seems not young to you guys, but it's still young compared to his brothers who were all grown-ups. All right, so Joseph was number 11 in the line. He had one younger brother named Benjamin, but all the others were all older, so they were like big grown-ups already. They were shepherds and they took care of their father's flocks. Often they had to travel far because the sheep would go and they would eat a little here. All the grass was gone, so they'd have to go to another place where there was grass, eat all that grass. And so they were grown up, so they got to travel around. And one day, Joseph was going to be sent out to check on them. But let's hear a little bit on Joseph first. Jacob loved Joseph more than all the other brothers. All right, he was number 11, but Jacob just loved him. He gave Joseph, do you guys know? I bet a lot of you do. A coat of so many beautiful colors. It was probably made of silk and skillfully embroidered. That means like those tiny little stitches, right, with all kinds of decoration. It was very fancy. When the older brothers saw that their father loved Joseph the most, what do you think happened? Yep, you're right. They were human just like you and me. And they got jealous. They hated Joseph and could not speak to him kindly. So is jealousy a good thing? No. God doesn't want us to be jealous. God wants us to be the opposite. What is that? Thankful, right? And happy for other people when they get things. That's one of those hard things to do, but we've been working on it. I think you guys are pretty good at it. Once Joseph had a dream. It was a strange dream. He went and told his brothers. He said, listen, this is the dream I had. We were in a field, and so think about them being kind of out in the farmland, right? And they grew wheat, and to capture the wheat, they would put it in bundles, right? And tie a little string around it. Well, the bundles, he said, there was all your bundles and my bundle, and all of your bundles, all 11 of your bundles, bow down to my bundle of wheat. Uh-oh. His brothers were angry. They said, do you think this means that we will bow down to you? And Joseph's like, yeah, that's what I think. Now remember, God is preparing things. God has a path, so I wonder what that means. We'll see soon. Joseph dreamed another dream. This time, he said, I dreamed that the sun and the moon and 11 stars all came and bowed down to me. And his father saying, do you mean that your mother and I, along with your 11 brothers, are all going to bow down to you? Now, Jacob, he had some history with dreams from God, didn't he? Do you guys remember when we talked about him out in the desert after he left his family and he had to run away because Esau was going to try to kill him? And God met him. God met him out in the middle of that desert. Even when he had done some things that weren't right, God still met him. So Jacob's thinking, these dreams sound like something that maybe God has a plan with. So we're going to learn more about this in a couple of days. The brothers became more jealous. What is this you have dreamed? Shall your mother and I and your brothers all bow down to you? Joseph's wonderful dreams, they really did mean something. And they came true, but many years later. So hang on to that. But first, many other strange things happened. Soon after these dreams, Joseph's brother went out to their flocks, and it was a place quite far from Jacob's home. So Jacob said, Joseph, go out. I want you to go out and just check on your brothers. See how they're doing, make sure everybody's getting enough food to eat and all. So Joseph goes out, and he goes to one little area, and he doesn't find them. And then he sees someone, he says, can you tell me where my brothers are? And he's like, oh yeah, they went to this area. And so he traveled over to see his brothers, and his brothers saw him coming. As they saw him, their hatred grew for him, and they were so upset with him, and they decided they were going to make a plan. All right, let us kill him, they said. All right, I hope you're never so mad at your brothers or sisters you would even think that, right? We want to guard our hearts so we don't think things like that, but they were that was the place they were at. They said, let's kill him and throw him in a hole. Then we shall see what becomes of those dreams. Oh no. We will tell our father that a wild beast has eaten him up. Oh, this is a terrible, terrible plan, isn't it? All right, but remember, even inside some terrible, terrible plans, God is there and he could work. So Reuben, do you guys remember from our flags last week that Reuben was the oldest, right? He had another idea. He goes, well, instead of killing him, why don't we just put him in the hole and then maybe someone will find him. He was like, Reuben did not want to kill him. And he had a secret plan. He's like, we'll just put him in a hole. And then later he was going to sneak back and get Joseph out and save him. All right. So Reuben had planned to come back for him. When Joseph came near, his brothers pounced on him. They took off his beautiful coat. Remember that coat that was so special that they were jealous about, right? Then they threw him into an empty, dark water hole. The sides were so steep that Joseph could not climb out, and he cried in terror, help me, help me. But the brothers just sat down and ate their dinner. All right, again, if your brothers and sisters ever need help, you're not going to just sit down and have dinner and just let them need help, right? But these brothers were in a bad way. All right. While they were eating, they saw a cloud of dust in the distance. Pretty soon they could see it was a group of camels and traders. The people were Ishmaelites and on their way to Egypt. Their camels were loaded with spices and perfumes, which they were all going to sell in Egypt. So Egypt was like a big city, right? And so it was like if we would go to Chicago or New York. And so it wasn't that big, but like what we would see now, like a big city. And so traders would go to Egypt to sell all their things. And so the brothers came up with another idea. Judah, one of the brothers, said to the others, what good will it do for us if we kill our brother, right? No good at all. Let us instead sell him as a slave to the Ishmaelites. So they wanted to get some money for their brother, right? Whew, remember, God's here. He's gonna work something out, I promise you. All right. The others thought this would be a good way of getting rid of Joseph for good. So by this time, the Ishmaelites were very near, and the brothers called to them, and they said, we have a young boy that we want to sell to you. And the Ishmaelites, they didn't think that was anything strange. That was kind of their culture and their custom to sell people as slaves. So the brothers went, and they pulled Joseph out. How bitterly disappointed Joseph must have been when he found out that they were going to sell him. They weren't going to help him. The Ishmaelites paid 20 pieces of silver for Joseph. They put him on one of the camels and continued their journey, carrying him farther and farther away. So Joseph is off in Egypt. We're gonna read in the next 2 weeks about what goes on in Egypt because God has some big giant plans. But let's read what happens back at home. Reuben, the oldest, was not with the others when Joseph was sold. So do you remember his plan? He was going to go back and save him, right? But he went and he found that the hole was empty. Joseph was gone. He was afraid that his brothers might have killed him. He tore his clothes. That's what people would do. That was their custom right there when they had just great sadness. The other brothers went and took his beautiful coat and dipped it in some goat's blood, some little animal blood, right? And they took the coat and they showed it to their fathers. They lied. We found this coat. Look and see whether it's your son. And Jacob, of course, it was a very special coat. He said, of course this is my son's. And he cried out, some animal must have killed him. Jacob then tore his clothes and put on sackcloth. That was kind of like an itchy cloth. And they would wear that, just kind of like, a lot of times you'll see people wear black, like all black when they're mourning. This is what they would do. They put on this sackcloth, and they would, it would just be uncomfortable, and it would show that they were mourning a loss. He mourned for so long that his sons and daughter began to be afraid that he would never get over it. Remember how much Jacob loved Joseph, right? They tried to comfort him, but it was no use. He said, I will go to the grave mourning my son. The wicked brothers added to their sin by not telling the truth to their poor old father. Do you guys remember a time when Jacob didn't tell the truth? Yep, yes. When he lied and took the blessing from Isaac, right? All right. They let Jacob believe that Joseph had really been torn to bits by a wild beast. This was acting a lie, which is just as bad as telling a lie. So they let Jacob believe for a very long time that Joseph had died. Although Jacob did not know how wicked his sons were, God knew all the time. So no matter what's going on, God knows. And this has kind of two sides. God knows that those brothers were being so wicked and so cruel to Joseph. But God also knows that he has a plan for Joseph, and he's going to make a way for him. Isn't it awesome? Have you ever heard God called the Waymaker? Yeah, or Jesus called the Waymaker? Yeah, I've heard lots of really great songs about that. Jesus will make a way. God will make a way for the good, for his purpose, for the things that he wants to happen. He's in control of all of this. And so even though this story, it's a little sad, don't you think? I hope you guys will look at your brothers and sisters this week and think about how wonderful they are. Think about what a blessing it is that God gave you those brothers and sisters, all right? But also think about what is the plan that God has for your life. And next week, we're going to talk some more, and you're going to find out how God uses Joseph, even as a slave. Even as a slave in this big land of Egypt, God has a way to make good things happen for his will. Not our will, but God's will, his will. All right, guys? Trust me on this. Come back next week, all right? And hey, I wanted to remind you, May 2nd, we're going to have some in-service time. And but I also wanted to let you know, if you can't come, I know we have friends in Florida and Ireland and all over the United States. But if you can't come, that's okay. No big deal. I will still be here for you online each week. So if you could come, awesome. If you want to watch online, awesome. It's just a great situation. So I love you guys. I'm here for you, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.